everybody hear me now? All right, good. Hi, I'm Ellen Krieger. I used to be the travel writer for the Detroit Free Press for 14 years, and I just retired recently. And so I hope you're also reading the Free Press, even though I'm not there anymore. I had a great question just as I was coming up. Somebody said, when do we leave for New York? So I'm here to tell you, right after this, we're all going to the airport, and I'll meet you at the plane. So yeah, surprise. I don't know how many people saw that painting. It's part of the DIA sort of sharing with libraries. There's a painting, it's outside the door of the library here, and it shows a picture of 14th Street and 6th Avenue in New York back in, I think, maybe the 1920s or so. I Googled that intersection, and this is actually what it looks like now. Not very beautiful or not very busy, but I think it's downtown, and but it's still there. And if you look really closely, you might be able to pick out some of the buildings that are still there today. So I think it might be lit up. So when you're on your way out, just take a look at that for what it looked like back in the 20s. Before we really get started, I would like to know how many people in this room have never been to New York City? Okay, so quite a few. And how many people's last trip to New York was more than 5 years ago? Okay, so a lot of people. Because things keep changing, and one of the things I will talk about ahead is that there are so many more hotels in New York City than there were. There's so many more choices than there used to be, and so many things have changed for travelers. So we'll talk a little bit about that. My main thing is I would like you to be able to make the most of a short trip there. Most people just go for about 48, when I say 48 hours, they'll go Friday to Sunday or Saturday to Monday. It's a great way to get your feet wet and get to know the city a little bit. I do recommend going back as much as you can, because it's a huge city and there's so much to see. So my main thing here is to try to get you to spend less time on logistics and waiting in line and more time having fun in New York. So my title is Super Secrets for a Fantastic but Short Visit. New York City has about 61 million visitors a year, and you should be one of them. But I want you to be smarter than everyone else. New York City has 8.5 million residents, and Manhattan alone has 1.5 million people. So you combine all that, and it may seem overwhelming when you first get there. Where do you start is a good question. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about a little bit about time wasters and time savers when you are on a short trip to New York. The main things about time saving and time wasting. Time wasting, the main things are waiting in lines, and one of the big potential trip killers is checking luggage when you're flying. I had a reader contact me. She was actually on the trip, and she said, "They lost my luggage. I have no luggage. I'm in New York." And I said, what do you want me to do about it? And as it turned out, her luggage was delivered. It was delivered an hour on Sunday after she left for going home. So one of the things is, if you're just going to be there a short time, there's no need to check luggage. Just keep your luggage with you. And we'll talk more about some of these things later, but some of the time wasters also are booking connecting flights, waiting. I know a lot of people want to use Uber now instead of taxis, but waiting for an Uber at the airport is not always a wise choice. Not checking out how you're going to get around New York before you leave. It's one of the things I will talk about, but it's worth spending a little time thinking about it before you go. Planning too many things that are too far away from your hotel. So I'm going to show you a map of the city, and one of the things, you don't want to spend too much time, zooming all over the place and spending most of the time getting to places. Sitting in the lobby of your hotel because your room's not ready. If your room's not ready, check your luggage and go out and walk around. A lot of times these rooms are not ready till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't let it ruin your day. Don't just sit around. Take opportunity to check your luggage, walk around. Also just waiting in lines for tickets or other things. Time savers that I'll talk about are things that you can pre-plan, and sometimes spending money on certain things is worth it. When you have a very short period of time, sometimes it's worth spending a few more bucks in order to get what you want in that short period of time. So one of the things, you can drive to New York. It's obvious, it's fine, you can drive. Parking is an issue. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Chicago. So New York is the same, where there are places to park, but it's very expensive. So I personally have driven with 4 little girls up the middle of Fifth Avenue in a minivan and parked our minivan in New York. It can be done, but on a very short visit, I would tell you to sort of flying is the best. You can take the train into New York City. I have friends that live in Connecticut, and they take the train from New Haven right into Penn Station. Great way to come in. So if you have family or friends in any of those New England or states, New Jersey, any of those states, and want to try taking the train, you could do that. It's a great idea. But think about how are you going to get, so I say flying we'll talk more about, and sort of narrowing down what you want to do. I want to show you just a little bit about, this is a brief geography lesson. This is Manhattan itself. Now, I know you probably have heard of Brooklyn. Brooklyn, New York is a kind of a trending place. There's a lot of new people want to live there. There's new restaurants, there's new hotels, everything. But if you're not that familiar with New York, or you haven't been to New York in a while, I wouldn't stay in Brooklyn. I would stay right in Manhattan, because of course that's where all the big things are. So I want to show you a little bit. There's different neighborhoods in New York City, and it's worth it just before you go to sort of look at a map and take a look and see. Now, I'm sure most people know Central Park is right here, and the Upper West Side and the Upper East Side, mostly residential. It's mostly residential areas. This is Midtown here. And Greenwich Village down here is Soho, the financial district where the World Trade Center was. That's down here. Statue of Liberty is right off of the bottom of Manhattan. There are some sort of trendy areas that you probably have heard about. The Meatpacking District, Soho, Meatpacking District's right here. It's just a little area that has been very trendy lately. Broadway is right in this area here. So when you're when you're thinking about your plans of what you want to do in New York, just look at a map and sort of picture yourself where you want to go.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you know where NYU is?
NYU, I think it's uptown a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to raise your hand if you got a question while I'm talking. Just go ahead. Now, this is another map. I want you to be smart about transportation. We already talked about that. This is when you're talking about what's the best way to get there, New York has basically 3 airports. So here's Manhattan here. This is Queens. These are the different boroughs. LaGuardia Airport is right here. It's the closest to the city. JFK is also in Queens, but it's way over here. And here's Newark Airport. Okay, so you can fly into all 3 of them. I prefer LaGuardia, and I want to talk a little bit about that. there are airlines, different airlines, and we're very lucky here in Detroit because we have a lot of airlines that fly nonstop to New York City. Delta, American, and Spirit all fly nonstop to LaGuardia. And Delta flies nonstop to JFK and United to Newark. So you have a lot of choices, and if you have frequent flyer miles or you have different, favorites or whatever, those are the choices. The problem is that, oh, wait, hold on a second. One of the issues that I do want to talk about is Spirit Airlines. How many people do use Spirit? No, almost no. Sometimes once in a while. Okay, I do say it's fine to use Spirit as long as you don't actually care if you get there or not. And I'm saying that sort of tongue-in-cheek in that they will get you there, but if they have to cancel for some reason, you'll be put on another day probably for you because they just don't have that many flights. Also, if you're doing carry-on luggage, you might see Spirit has the lowest price, but you have to pay for carry-on luggage on Spirit. I also would be careful of American. They just changed their rules. They have called a basic economy fares that look really great. Look at the rules. You also have to pay for carry-on luggage. So just compare those things so you make sure you're not end up paying more than you would have if you paid for Delta, okay? I personally would not fly into Newark. You can fly into Newark if you want to. Let's say you have United frequent flyer miles, you can get there. But one of the biggest issues is how do you get from these airports to Manhattan? So one of the things I looked this up because so many people want to take Uber now and they think it's a better deal. So from JFK to Manhattan, a taxi is a set price of $52. The Uber pool is $35, UberX $55. So it's actually more than a taxi. The best way to get from JFK into the city actually is by subway. There's a subway called the Jamaica Station. You can take it for $7.75, and it takes you into Penn Station. So if you find yourself flying to JFK, that's the way to go. Sometimes people who are flying, let's say you're going to fly an international trip and you're stopping in New York overnight, it might fly you to JFK and you might be flying out of JFK, but most people are going to fly to and from LaGuardia, okay? So one of the things I found was this article, cabs are the quickest way to get to LaGuardia. Still, they did a test of comparing cabs, Uber, shuttle, bicycle, all kinds of things, and found that a taxi is still the best way to get from LaGuardia to downtown, to Manhattan and back. Yeah.
Is there a set fare?
No, there is not a set fare from LaGuardia. You can sort of get a feeling if you go on a very slow time. Let's say their test was on an off time and it only took 30 minutes and it was $33. If it's 40 minutes, you'll probably pay $40. If it's 50 minutes, you'll pay $50. I have paid about $50 even from LaGuardia on a Friday evening, Friday afternoon when it's very slow. So it's a combination of distance and time that you're in the cab. Yeah.
What if you've got a group of more than 4?
Okay.
Yeah. And you want to stay together?
Yeah, that's a good question. They do have shuttles, and Uber and Lyft are allowed at the airport, so you could get a bigger Uber van that could take everyone. Sometimes you can ask at the counter, they have these shuttles that will take more people. And sometimes taxis, there are minivans that are taxis, and they will take you, yeah.
When you give the price, that's per person?
No, that's for the whole thing. That's for the whole taxi, so that's not per person. Yeah, did you have a question? No, okay. So let's go on. Okay, question, should you get around town by subway when you're in Manhattan? And the answer is absolutely yes. It's a great way to get around. Now this is don't get scared and freaked out about this is the subway map, but it's actually quite simple. And remember, one of the things, especially when we talk about lodging, most of these in the city are going north and south. Most of the lines are going north and south within Manhattan. So that's one of the issues if you're going to stay way over here in lodging and you want to go somewhere. It's better to stay somewhere that's sort of near one of the subway lines. And it's about $3 per ride. You can get something called a MetroCard. It's like this. You can put money on it. It's very simple. I have this one because I was just there in February, and this still has $3 on it, so I brought it home. But you just go to a vending machine, you get this. It's good on buses as well. And I have taken the bus in New York, and that's also a decent way to get somewhere that there isn't a subway, a bus, even a few blocks. Like one good example is the Metropolitan Museum of Art is up here, right here. And getting from here to here, it looks short, but it actually is a couple miles. You can take a bus that goes right up this street and get off. So I highly recommend getting familiar with that. Also, just look that up before you go.
What app?
Yeah.
What's the app?
Oh, the subway website is mta.info, but there is an MTA app that for your phone that it'll show you where, you can put in like, I want to go from here to here. It'll tell you how to get there, buses and subway. So, okay. When is the best time to go? I like winter. And one of the reasons I like winter is that it's the cheapest. So the cheapest months in New York are January, February, and August. The most expensive are, strangely, September, October, and December. I think there's a lot of business travel there in the fall, a lot of organizations. A lot of people want to see New York at Christmas time. We want to see the Christmas tree and everything. That's an extremely busy, expensive season. Thanksgiving to New Year's, they're expecting 6 million visitors this year, just that time. Another reason I like to go in the winter, there's a restaurant week and a Broadway week I think it's like late January, early February, half price meals and half price tickets. You can go any time of the year, and August is a good time if you want to go in the summer. August is because a lot of New Yorkers are gone, so it's a kind of a good time if you want to go in the summer. But I've been to New York many times in the winter, and it's a really great time to go. The main thing is watch out for Fashion Week, which is in September, and the New York City Marathon is in November. You don't want to be in New York either of those weeks. It's extremely busy then. The other thing I want to tell you is that the hotel rates, yeah.
Do you know what weekend the marathon?
It varies a little bit. It's around November 14th or so, 10th or 11th. Yeah, I don't think that it's that week, that day. I think it's a little bit later. You might look it up though. Yeah.
Another question, because we're planning to go the coming year, but when you're saying winter, January, February, but if we want to be able to take the ferry out to Staten Island and to the statue,
Yeah.
if it's winter, we can't do that.
They go year round. Yes, you can. I've been out to the Statue of Liberty in January. I have. Mm-hmm.
We
Now.
definitely want to go to Staten
Yeah, March is also a good time if you want to wait. I mean, you can go anytime. You can go in April or May or whatever.
Right.
You're just going to pay more. So I'm going to give you an example. The hotel occupancy in January, February is only 72 to 78%, and the average room rate is 207. So that's pretty good. September, October is a 91% occupancy rate, and the average room rate is 357. So, if you're willing to pay it's fine. And also, if you book sort of in advance, you can probably find something, that isn't too expensive for your day. I also want to talk about lodging because that's one of the biggest questions people have. The best place to stay in New York City is with a friend who has a condo in the city or family, you know, so that's family or friends, if you have any family or friends. Now, most people do stay at hotels. Has anyone here stayed in an Airbnb? If you ever used it, Airbnb, and where were you when you did? And how did it work out?
It was good.
Okay, good. Okay, so Airbnb, if you don't know, it's the room rental website. So private citizens put up their rooms for rent, and it can be a room in a place where the owner is there, or it can be the whole apartment. Now, I wanted to tell you something about New York because unlike other cities, they cracked down on Airbnb. So technically, I just wanted to read this. It prohibits home rentals for less than 30 days if the owner is not present. The fines go to the hosts, not the renters. And few hosts have been prosecuted. So at first they thought it would cut down on the number of people posting their rentals on Airbnb, but it hasn't actually. So a lot of people are still renting. There are still 28,000 Airbnb listings for New York City. My advice about it, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of people here would be doing that, but let's say you wanted to rent an apartment or a room or something instead of a hotel. Just know where it is. The location is so important. You don't want to end up in some shady area. That in any city, actually, I know somebody in Chicago who they're very experienced with Airbnb, and they ended up in sort of a shady area and ended up leaving. I've rented Airbnb in Honolulu, on Cape Cod, a couple other places, and I had great luck. So I recommend it. I just be careful, okay? Same thing with a hotel, actually. Find a hotel on the map and see where it is. See if it's near where you want to be. Don't just go for something because it's cheap, okay? Let me see what was next. Okay, where to stay. There are tons of new hotels in New York. Just since 2007, when there were 357 hotels, there have been a huge building boom, and there are now over 632 hotels in New York City and 115,000 rooms. And they say that there are 200 more hotels on the way. So that's good for us, right? The main question people ask me is, where do I stay in New York City? Is there anyone here who has a place they love? Anybody here? Yeah.
Long Island City, but it's in Queens.
Okay, so you stay in Queens, Long Island City, and it's cheaper. And how do you get from there to like the places you want to go? Subway. So you stay in Queens and you take the subway. Okay, yeah, and commute. So that's good. Anybody else? Anybody? Yeah.
Marriott Courtyard, we stayed on 40th Street, half a block from Times Square.
Okay, Marriott Courtyard near Times Square. A lot of people want to stay near Times Square because it's sort of the center of the action. As other people don't like it because they think it's too busy or too noisy. There is one new hotel that it just opened, and you might check it out. It's called the Moxie New York Times Square. It is also owned by Marriott. It just opened in May, and it's supposedly less expensive. It's not as fancy as other hotels. Think, it's more like a simple place with the simple rooms, and there's not a lot of amenities, but it's brand new. I like that, and it's a great location. So that Moxie New York City Times Square is one place I might check out. Another new hotel that just opened is this Mondrian Park Avenue Hotel. It's a little more expensive, and it's a little bit different area. It's on Park Avenue and 30th Street or 32nd Street or something. It's sort of down by the Empire State Building. But that's sort of a new area called Nomad. It's this trendy area, and apparently that's a beautiful hotel. Anybody else? Anybody else have any secrets to share about places to stay? Yeah.
The East Side Marriott we liked.
Okay, the East Side
It's
Marriott.
Lexington and 49th.
At Lexington and 49th, so that's a little bit farther east, but it's not far from Times Square. And okay, so that's a good one. Yeah.
Have you personally traveled with a train to New York?
No,
Do you have any experience?
I do not. I don't. You mean like from a suburb with taking the train into the city, or
From here.
or like Amtrak all the way?
Amtrak.
You know, I did a story a long time. A few years ago about taking the Empire Builder train from Minneapolis to Glacier National Park, and at that time I did do a big story about taking Amtrak long distances. The only thing I would say is that route tends to have a lot of delays on it, so you'd have to plan. Let's say it takes 10 hours from Michigan. Plan a few extra hours, but you could do it. Yeah, sure.
How about the train station to the hotel, the transportation?
Oh, it's good. Oh, sure. No, Penn Station has been totally. It's not far. It's it's not that far from where the action is. No.
Like we have friends in Jersey that are not
Uh-huh.
far. And so if we were, let's say, go and fly into
Yeah.
Jersey or
You flew
fly
to
in
Newark. Uh huh.
or something.
Yeah.
And then there's trains to go into Penn Station.
Yes. Uh huh.
So that's
Yeah,
another
sure.
option.
Sure, you could do
Then
that.
from Penn
Yeah.
Station, you take a cab to your hotel.
Yes, yes. Now, a lot of people like to stay in that Times Square area or just a little bit north, near, like in Midtown, near Central Park. It's walking distance to Times Square. It's near the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I sort of like that area the best just because I think it's easy to get around. A lot of people stay at that the Hilton or the Sheraton that's right in Midtown. Yeah, I prefer the Hilton over the Sheraton there, but they're close to everything, and they're sort of the mainstream hotels. And in that same in that same area, there's two other hotels I would maybe recommend. If you like sort of small boutique, old-fashioned, elegant hotels, there's a hotel called Hotel Elsee. It's ELYSEE. And the website is elseehotel.com. It's right there too. It's like near 6th Avenue of the Americans of 56th Street or 57th Street. It's a very small hotel. I loved staying there. It's beautiful. It's very small amenities, but it includes breakfast. And I just looked at the prices, and you can see the variation in the prices. So like right now, it's $500 a night, and then in January it's $200 a night, and it's a lovely place. And then there's this other secret place that you may not like, but I thought it was cool. It's called the Hotel Wellington. It is on 7th Avenue and 55th Street. It's also right there. It's near Carnegie Hall, near Central Park. It is a hotel, 7th Avenue and 55th Street. It is a hotel that's never advertised. It's completely populated by foreign tourists, like foreign tour groups. But I went there to New York with my adult daughters. There were 3 of us, and I wanted to get a suite. And suites are very expensive other places, so I got this 1-bedroom suite at this Wellington hotel for like $200 a night. And it's old-fashioned, but the suite was beautiful and lovely, and it's a great location. I don't think they rent rooms on like the big websites, but it's wellingtonhotel.com, and there's no children allowed in the hotel. Don't know why, but if you're desperate and you can't find anything else, and you want that location, you might take a look at that one.
Spell the other one for
Wellington, Elsee, ELYSEE. And those are 2 places I personally stayed, and I've also stayed at the Hilton and the Sheraton there. Yeah, did you? Okay, so,
How about the Washington Square Park?
yeah, okay, Washington Square area. I've never stayed down there. That would be a good place to stay. Some people want to stay way down in the financial district. I've stayed at the Standard Hotel in the Highline area, meatpacking district. The Standard is a super trendy, I wrote a story about it, and it just opened. Super trendy, sexy hotel with no curtains on the windows on the outside. And if that is something, and a fancy nightclub on the top. And that's down in the meatpacking district. It's a great place. Yeah.
Where we stayed, we were just going, we just had a day in Washington Park. The ferry, Staten Island ferry.
You parked there, and they took the Staten Island ferry into the city.
Right, so it was free parking.
Okay, so that's a good clue. Yes. Okay, she drove. They drove to and took the Staten Island ferry, parked there, and took the ferry into the city. That's a good way to get there too. Okay, so I'm just going to run through a few more suggestions, and then I'll open it up to more questions. Okay, so I have been to New York with some friends who are super foodies, and we've been to the super great restaurants, reserved in advance, and it's pretty much wasted on me because I'm not that big of a foodie, but it was fun. The thing about New York is a lot of people live there, so there's great restaurants everywhere. So if you are a foodie, I'd recommend this website called Gayot.com, GAYOT.com/restaurants. And you can go, I just looked at it today, if you look at New York, they just posted 25 hottest restaurants in New York City. So if you're interested in like the newest or the trendiest, there are a lot of them, and it's funny, a lot of them are in Brooklyn, a lot of them are down in the financial district. It's very, very interesting list. Otherwise, if you go with younger people, they have Yelp on their phones. Yelp is an app for finding restaurants. They'll stand outside their hotel, hold it up, and look around and see what's there and what does Yelp recommend. And I actually have had great luck doing that. There are great neighborhood restaurants everywhere in New York, and just use that and go and just take a chance. Does anybody here have a restaurant they love in New York City? Yeah.
I've never been there, but a friend has, Tavern on the Green.
Tavern on the Green, yeah.
Central Park.
Right, yeah. What closed and then it reopened, yeah.
The Russian tea room, I think.
The what?
Russian tea room.
Oh, the Russian tea room.
Is it still open?
I don't know, actually. When was the last time you were there?
I wasn't there, but I heard about it.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure if it's still open.
This was from when I was a kid. We
Oh.
used to go into the brasserie. It was in the Seacoast building. Do you know?
I'm not I don't know. I'm not really sure. Yeah.
We went to this restaurant originally because it could accommodate my daughter's food allergies, but the food is so good, we go back.
What's the name of it?
Bistongo's, small Italian.
Bistongo's?
Yeah, it's on 415 3rd Avenue and 29th.
Okay, so it's called Bistongo's Restaurant. Recommended. Yeah.
There's a restaurant behind the New York City Library on Bryant Park.
Okay. Restaurant behind the New York City Library on Bryant Park.
But it's
Oh,
great. You can
but you
eat
don't remember the
outside,
name
you
of
can
it.
eat
Uh-huh.
inside.
Okay.
It's the only one
Okay.
there.
Okay, so I would tell you, and also nightlife is interesting. I was reading, not that I'm a big expert, but I was reading that I told you that at the top of the Standard Hotel, there's a nightclub called Top of the Standard, and you can get in early, but it's really the beautiful people that get in later. They have it was also called the Boom Boom Room, is its famous name. But I was reading that the real popular thing now are rooftop bars and lounges. And there are hundreds of them now in New York City, and including on most of these new hotels. So if you go to a hotel, ask them if they have one or where is it, because that's where most of the nightlife is going. And they said it's a little bit more casual than it used to be. So if you want to be, pretty trendy or see something cool, plus great views up there, right? So I definitely would do it. And they were saying in Brooklyn, if you're anywhere in Brooklyn and you go to one of these rooftop lounges, you can go back and see Manhattan back, back from the roof of wherever you are. So it's a great thing. One of my favorite bars is the the bar at the Park Lane Hotel. It's on Central Park South, just south of Central, just south of the Central. Does anybody remember Leona Helmsley, who owned the hotel? Okay, so she used to own that, and there's a bar there where she used to sit and bring her little dog and sit there and have drinks every night, I guess. And of course, she's long gone, but I do like that bar at the Park Lane Hotel. The Park Lane Hotel, and I don't know if the bar actually has a name, but it's on the second floor. You just walk in and go up. That's sort of a secret place that I would recommend. One thing is there are some tourist trap restaurants right down in the city. Times Square, notorious. Before you go anywhere, look at a menu. If you see things like burgers, $20, or just walk away. And there are a lot of those, and don't get hooked. Okay, so I put this picture because I have a good friend who just went to New York, and her primary interest was where to see celebrities. Does anybody know who George Stephanopoulos? She took this picture, so she stalked. No, I'm sorry, she didn't stalk. She went to Good Morning America, which is on Times Square, and she stood out and she said, "Well, I watched the show, and I figured that it's around 7:30 in the morning when they do the report outside." So sure enough, she was there at 7:30 in the morning, and they came out. And they did shake hands with people. So if you want to see celebrities in New York, celebrities are very low key there. You are not allowed to, go up and ask for their autograph or anything, except my friend, not only did she see them here, but she looked out her window from the Hilton Hotel and saw a red carpet by a movie theater and found out that Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy were premiering a movie. So they went down there, and sure enough, they got their autograph. So it is possible to see celebrities if you'd like to. There are famous restaurants that apparently these celebrities haunt. I think Jimmy Fallon is filmed at the Rockefeller Center there, and you might be able to get tickets for that. One of the things I talk about is this is sort of it's not a big advice, but I'd say when you have a short period of time, don't book every second of your time. New York is a really culturally rich place. There's a lot of great people watching, and there's a lot of unexpected things as well. So just leave some room for serendipity. This is when I was there in winter. It's Rockefeller Center. It's not Christmas anymore, but as you can see, it's still absolutely beautiful. And we actually went ice skating there. And so it's not just look, but I had the time, and we actually went. I want to talk a little bit about how to see some iconic spots when you have a short amount of time. So if you've never been to New York, beforehand, think about what you want to do. There are some things you want to get tickets in advance for. The Empire State Building is one of them. You can get in line and buy tickets, but has anyone been through the Empire State Building recently? Okay, so you know how you go in and it looks like there's a short line, and then you go to here and there's this huge line. Then you go up an elevator, and then you're waiting in another huge line. So I want you to look at the site. Look at the Empire State Building website before you go, because you can get tickets. It's called Skip the Line, which I recommend. You get that, and it's a little bit more money. You get to skip what it is, the first part of the line. But there's still a line, and you're still going to wait in it. But, it's a little more manageable. Number 2, you can get a VIP Skip the Line, which skips you all the way to the elevator that goes to the top, but it's like $100 or something. So you may not want to do that. Yeah.
Or go at night, there is no line.
Yeah, or go at night when there's no line. You can go at night. Yes, you can. And they have other other types of tickets too. So, but get something ahead of time. So you can, if you really want to go up there, and I highly recommend it. It is an iconic experience. There are plenty of other places in New York to go up high and look out, but it's just being at the Empire State Building is really, really worth it. Yeah.
Yes, some people who had done that said they went up to the top of the rock instead.
Yes, I've been to the top of the rock. I don't think it's, I mean, it's fine, but it's not the same as the Empire State Building. No, absolutely not. No. Unless you absolutely can't get down there. You know, if you're closer to Rockefeller Center and you really want to see it, it's fine. But you wait, that has some weights too, but not nearly like the Empire State Building. Statue of Liberty. How many, who's been up to, yeah, okay. So if you've been, most people have been. I mean, this is just like a must do if it's your first time. And even if it's not, you can go back. Again, look at their website, and I would buy the tickets in advance for that because it's so popular. There are various tickets for that too. You could get ones to get you up to the crown, one to get you just to the pedestal. You can get, my husband and I didn't have time last time to go into the Statue of Liberty. You can just take the ferry out and go to the island, walk around, and then go back. And you still get great pictures. Great pictures. So if you've already been inside of it and you want to see it again, you know, it's fun to do that.
To walk up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this was in '55 when I got married. We went up
Yeah.
as far as we could go.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
And it's wonderful. The 9/11 Memorial in the museum, the memorial is free. It's absolutely beautiful. I'd highly recommend it. The museum costs money. I don't know that you need to get tickets in advance for that. But I would probably say that, you know, if you really want to do that, I would go ahead and get the tickets in advance. Yeah. The One World Observatory. Okay, so here's somebody, I've never been there. The One World Observatory, that new observatory, she said it's absolutely phenomenal. Did you get the tickets in advance for that too? Okay, do you remember how much they cost?
No, our
No.
son lived there.
Okay, so usually these things cost about 20 bucks or something. Okay, so where the World Trade Center was is the new building, and
Museum and the fountain.
the museum,
park,
the
whole area
the
is just
memorial is very moving, but she was saying the new observatory is worth seeing, so you know that's something you could see.
9/11 memorial
Yeah.
tickets in advance.
The memorial, you don't need, you used to have to get tickets, but the memorial, you don't need them anymore outside, but for the museum, you do, definitely. One thing that I did last time I was there is we went into St. Patrick's Cathedral, and it was on a Sunday. And it was so cool to see that, you know, actually going on, and it was absolutely beautiful. That's something that's free, you can just walk in. Oh, really? No kidding. Shopping, again, you know, people love to go on Fifth Avenue, Tiffany's, all the big places. Other places are like Greenwich Village, Soho. This is my husband standing in front of the Little Lebowski store. You know, the big Lebowski. I'm sorry to say this is not open anymore. I just checked yesterday, but when we went, I found out about this store, and we went down to Greenwich Village, and it was a whole store just with all Big Lebowski memorabilia in it. These areas have these smaller areas have great antiques. A lot of people used to go to New York for electronics, cheap electronics, but you know, now with the internet, you don't really need to do that anymore. So, you know, just window shop along Fifth Avenue. The one place, you see this place is called Teuscher Chocolate. This is my favorite candy store. It's my favorite store in New York City. It's actually across the street from St. Patrick's Cathedral, between there and Rockefeller Center, and it's this phenomenal chocolate shop that most of the expense is in the packaging with these flowers, and it's phenomenal just to go in there and look. Okay, nobody can force you to buy anything, but you will. Okay. Let's go through this. Museums on limited time. My idea is go on their website ahead of time. You can't see everything, especially the Metropolitan Museum of Art. This is has anybody been here? This is Van Gogh's Starry Night at the at the Museum of at MoMA. And so I have actually taken people in there, paid the money, gone up, seen this walked out. If you only have 20 minutes, it's worth it because this is really something to see. So it's great. Yeah.
I was going to say the museums are one of the little tiny secrets is that it's by donation, and it has a suggested, and it has in fine print. It says suggested donation. It'll
Right.
seem like that's the price to get in. It'll say $25.
Right.
You can give them 10 cents.
Right. Yeah, he's saying that the museums actually are suggested donation of $24 or suggested this, but the actual price is whatever you want to pay. I mean, most people do pay the price, but so I would, take a look and see. There are millions of museums and libraries and phenomenal stuff. So, just focus on what you really want to see. Okay, so one of the questions I get a lot is how to get Broadway tickets cheap. Everybody wants cheap Broadway tickets when you don't have a lot of time. I want to talk a little bit about this. Everybody knows about the TKTS ticket booth, half-price ticket booth. It's in Times Square. I'm not a huge fan. A, you're waiting in a long line. B, a lot of times the stuff that is available isn't really all that great. I would rather you spend the money. If you're only going to New York once and you really want to see something, I would just spend the money and buy the tickets in advance. If you don't care if you go to Broadway or not, you might wait and just go to the theater, go straight to the theater. Playbill.com is a really good source of what's going on in the theater. And they also have this section called Broadway Rush Lottery and Standing Room Ticket Prices. And there are these ways to get tickets at the last minute. You can enter a online lottery where you might get this $10 ticket that's in the front row. Hamilton started this, or I don't know if they started it, but they popularized it. Sometimes you can get these, when there's cancellations, you can get the tickets, the rush tickets, by standing at the theater. So this is just an example I gave you. So this is Beautiful, the Carole King musical. I just took this right off the website. So this is a rush ticket. It's $40. When the box office opens, it's first come, first serve. So any unsold, they have these rush tickets. There's 20 tickets, I think, a day available. So sometimes people go at the crack of dawn and they want to be the first 20 people to get these tickets. If you're up really early, I suppose you could do it. But it goes against my don't wait in line and waste time in line. I do have a friend he's a huge Broadway fan, and his method was stand outside when people are going into the theater and keep shouting, "Does anyone have an extra ticket?" He left my husband standing on the street because he got one ticket and went into the play. But it worked. So my other suggestion is, there are a lot of other things to see. If you can't go get a Broadway show, when we were there, Monday night is usually dark on Broadway. So we went to Carnegie Hall to a concert. It was all local people. It was phenomenal, and it wasn't that expensive. You can go to Juilliard, you can go to the opera, you can go to the symphony, ballet. I mean, there are many other things, jazz clubs. I know somebody used to go just for jazz. Yeah.
Playbill.com also has a club.
Yeah.
And the tickets at the club are the same price as what you'd pay standing at the box office in Times Square.
Okay, so
Because I was sitting in line when he said, "This is ridiculous," and I was
Okay. So he said at this Playbill.com, they have a club you can join.
It's free.
That's free. And then they will sell you a ticket is the same price you can get at the TKTS booth. So that's a great piece of advice.
Not all the plays are there.
Right, not all the plays, right. I mean, and people ask me, how do you get tickets for Hamilton or whatever? Well, first of all, since the original cast is no longer there, I would tell you to go to Chicago for Hamilton. I just was there 3 weeks ago. And the way I got tickets was BroadwayInChicago.com. If you get on their list, they will send you an email saying, we're about to put on some new tickets on sale for, like say here, for February. And so I went right on and bought them right off the site at face value. So, and it was just fantastic.
Do they have that for New York?
No, they don't. They don't have the same thing. And then, yeah. What?
What was that website?
Oh, Broadway in Chicago. .com. Yeah. And then the last thing is, sometimes people ask, should they take a tour? And some people like to take the tours. You see those big red buses around New York. They're the hop on, hop off. It is possible you could take those. There are tours called half-day tours. They're actually 6 hours, so you have to give up part of your day, but they would get you around if you didn't want to do it yourself. There are ways you could go. A couple of suggestions are, there's this website called freetoursbyfoot.com. They give free tours, like of Central Park or free tours of Greenwich Village or something. And then you pay, I guess you just tip them when you're finished. And they also have a lot of other great information about other types of tours you can take. One of the suggestions they had was, there's this company called City Sites, NYC.com. And a City Sites Freestyle Pass, this is 3 days. It's 3 days of hop on, hop off, plus you get into several attractions. So you can save a lot of money that way if you're there to do a lot of attractions. So do the math and see if it's worth it for you to get one of these passes. If you're only planning to go 1 or 2 places, don't get it. But I would, you might look into those if you don't want to do it by yourself. For more trip planning, these are the sites I recommend. The official New York City tourism website, www.nycgo.com. That's the official one. It has links to everything, things you can do. It tells you what's new. It has great ideas. Then there's another one called nyctourist.com. That's just another website. And finally, one of the things is a lot of people are either slow walkers, they're in wheelchairs, they might be blind, they might have some kind of disability. They like last week, posted a new website for Accessible New York. So it's that same nycgo.com/accessibility. So I thought that was a great site. They apparently have all these special offerings for accessible travelers, and including things on Broadway. So, I have been hesitant about going with somebody with a disability. This might be a good chance. All right, so I will see you in New York, and I'll open it up to questions. Yeah.
One of the things that we do, first time, we haven't been there in a long time, but with the hop off, if we get on when we first go, and we make a complete tour, because it'll go to Broadway, and here there are places that we're not going to take the time to go.
I see. So they said they make a complete tour of the hop on, hop off bus to see everything once before they ever get off. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Did somebody hear a question?
Have you done the tenements?
The what?
The New York tenements?
No, I have not done. Have you?
I want to, that's how
Oh, yeah. The New York tenements. Have you done it?
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Take you into some of the buildings and show you what the rooms were like and how the people lived.
Okay, the tenement tour shows what it was like in the early days of New York City, the tenements that people lived in and what life was like, right? Yeah. Anybody? Yeah.
If you, we have tickets and we're going to Newark. Would you take a taxi?
No, I think there's a train. There's a train from Newark, into town. That's fine. Yeah.
If you had to go to Brooklyn.
No. Yeah, no. Yeah, it'll take you right there. Yeah. Did you? Yeah.
What's the price of an average meal, a decent meal?
Okay. The price of an average decent meal in a good restaurant in New York. You know, there probably is a super trendy level that's going to be very expensive, but I didn't find New York to be all that expensive because there's so many people that live there, regular people that live there. You might pay $100 for, you know, a pretty decent meal, but I suppose you could spend more. You know, a lot of it has to do with liquor, you know, how much alcohol you have. But you cannot find places that everything's like $10, or it's easy to find affordable food there. Yeah. Yeah.
We're taking some high school girls for their spring break. They've got 3 or 4 days. Other than Soho, any other shopping areas that you think young women?
In Greenwich Village, definitely. And I do think that they would like to see the Fifth Avenue stores, Tiffany's and all those fancy stores on there, just to see them. Yeah, as long as they don't buy anything, yeah. As long as they don't tell them, just take all their money away before they go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
New York's like Chicago or here they have happy hours and
Oh, yeah.
cheaper hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, happy hours, cheap hors d'oeuvres. And I said there's all these rooftop restaurants, and that, you know, yeah, and you could share a lot of food. Yep. There's a lot of ethnic food. I mean, there's just phenomenal stuff there. Yeah.
Any safety tips?
Safety tips. You know, New York used to be a kind of a dicey place to go, but it's actually one of the safest big cities in the world now. I think as long as you stay in the tourist areas, in Times Square, people are foolish and they're wandering around like this with their phones. I personally have never seen anything bad happen in Times Square, but I've seen a lot of foolish behavior there. You know, people. Yeah, my daughter got her driver's license stolen out of her purse while she was on a crowded subway. You know, just the normal things. Just keep your, you know, keep a hold of all your personal possessions. Yeah.
Are the tours open at Ellis Island?
To Ellis Island, yes, absolutely. When you buy the Statue of Liberty tour, you can buy ones that include Ellis Island, and that's completely worth it as well. Yes, absolutely.
Is the Staten Island Ferry still free if you just?
I don't know. Who took that? Staten Island Ferry is still free, yes. Yes, and she wrote it 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Is there a tour book that you like for New York City?
A tour book. Yeah, Fodor's, Rick Steves, DK, anything. The main thing is get something that's new. Don't use anything old. You know, you can go to AAA, but the problem is that, you know, their books are getting smaller and smaller, like, and the type is about this big. I would suggest, I know you can use your phone when you get there, you can use your phone walking around, where am I? But I recommend, you know, getting an actual map and looking at it, especially before you go there. Take a look and, you know, just see where you're going and see where you are, see where the subway is, see how close it is to where your hotel is. Definitely. And do a lot of walking. I mean, walking is, everybody walks in New York City, so it's a great place for walking. Yeah, anything else? Yeah.
Last time I was in New York, I took a bus from Newark. Do they still run buses?
Yeah, I think they do have buses from Newark. Was it where did it drop you off?
The Port Authority.
At the Port Authority, okay. So yeah, that's a possibility too. You can take a bus from, yes, I think there are buses. Not that many people take them. Yeah.
The airport website has
Yeah.
if you just Google it,
Yeah.
LaGuardia best way to New York City,
Yeah.
it has a whole page that tells
Yeah.
you all the pros and cons
Yeah.
of every way you get.
That's right, and that's true. You can just look at the Port Authority website, and it'll have all the airports and all the transportation options. Yeah.
LaGuardia has an M60, it's the Manhattan bus. You can actually pay the bus rate.
Yeah. Okay. He said that LaGuardia does have a bus, M60 bus. It comes every 7 minutes. And how much is it?
It's like $2.50.
$2.50. And where does it drop you off?
It drops you off at Upper West Side.
On the Upper West Side. So if you're going downtown.
You have to switch to the 1 train if you're going downtown.
Okay. All right, so that bus does not stop right downtown. Yeah. Okay, he was saying that there is a bus from LaGuardia that is very inexpensive. However, it drops you off on the Upper West Side of the city, so people going downtown, it would be a little complicated for them to take it.
You could just take the subway down.
Yeah, you could take the subway down. That's what he said, and then you could take the subway down. It's the M.
Depending on where you get off the bus, you can go down the Fifth Avenue subway, the Seventh
Okay.
Avenue subway, or the Broadway.
Right. So yeah, you could. Maybe you guys could talk to each other afterwards. Yeah.
Are there shuttles from LaGuardia?
Yes, there are shuttles, and there are those group shuttles, but then they stop at different hotels. And I always found if you're a very limited time, there you are sitting on that shuttle. It's dropping off an hour later. It's not worth it.
How much do the car rentals cost?
Car rentals.
Yeah.
I have never rented a car. You mean in the city?
In the city, so you can get off faster.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Has anyone ever rented a car in the city?
It depends. You can pick them up at LaGuardia. It's anywhere from the cheapest I've seen is Priceline is $15 a day.
Yeah. Okay.
It goes up to 60 to 70.
Yeah, he's saying that cars could be cheap, but they could be up to $60 or $70 a day. It depends on the demand. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just curious about if you could tell us a little bit about the ethnic enclaves there on Manhattan, like
Chinatown.
Do they have a little Italy? Do they have
Yes.
a Chinatown?
Yes.
Do they exist that?
Yes. They have all of these things. Chinatown, Little Italy.
Those things.
Well, I think they do have quite a lot of information on the city's website, that nycgo.com. And they have great food on all those places. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would just take a look in there for sort of updated of where those are, but and how look at those. Yeah.
Do they still have the vendors selling everything?
Yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Everything from chestnuts to scarves to jewelry and questionable purses. Yes, they do. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Yeah.
We took, years ago, we took the ferry around the island of Manhattan.
Uh-huh.
I can still see how awesome that is, because you can't believe that
Yeah.
all these gigantic buildings are on this little
On the little island. Yeah, she said that they took a ferry boat around the whole island and was very, very awesome. So, yeah, so that's another thing. I mean, they have helicopter tours. I mean, it's just endless stuff you could do. But, okay, well, I hope that this has helped all of you. I hope all of you end up going to New York City. You could drop me a line if you want to. Let me know how it went. It's ekrieger@comcast.net. And thank you very much.